Did you know that the clothes that you're wearing every day could be putting your health at risk? Your favorite sports bra or underwear could be loaded with chemicals that are linked to serious health conditions. And that sounds pretty alarming, right? Well, that's exactly what research has revealed. And today we're digging into whether your underwear might be harboring these hidden dangers. Plus, I'll be giving you my #1 suggestion for a chemical-free underwear. So stick around to find out how to find apparel that's 100% chemical-free. The Center for Environmental Health recently released a report that found BPA in a bunch of different sports bras and popular underwear brands. And this got me thinking, how safe is the underwear that I'm wearing every day? Before I get to that, let's break down why this might matter.
BPA is what makes plastic hard. And so it goes in, and what it is it's an endocrine disruptor. So what that means, or it's a hormone disruptor, and it's in the endocrine system. So what that means is the body looks at it and it mimics estrogen. And so there are estrogen positive cancers. So it can trick the body into thinking that it has more estrogen. That affects both women and men, because we all need estrogen. And it also, anyone who's gone through menopause, if you're a woman and you start to, your estrogen starts to lower, they call it like a brain fog. So it has a direct correlation to our brain. And the research that I've done, indicates that while BPA is not good for us, there are very critical times in our lives when it's actually worse. And those are the times where, we're in utero, if a mom is breastfeeding, when we're going through puberty, and then for women, when we're going through menopause, because we are, we're losing our natural estrogen. And there are a lot of cancers that we're seeing later in life that are affected by estrogen and estrogen positive.
So the most common chemicals found in our underwear and clothing in general are BPA and PFAS, or forever chemicals. And they're used in more consumer goods than just our clothing, from food packaging to firefighting foam and nonstick cookware. These chemicals are known hormone disruptors and endocrine disruptors that have been linked to serious health issues. BPA is associated with conditions like breast and prostate cancer, birth defects, and even obesity. And PFAS is connected to developmental delays in children, kidney cancer, and increased cholesterol levels.
It gets into our products because some companies add it to polyester for its attributes, which, hold on one second, I added this. Oh, it increases durability and prevents static. Who cares about static? But it increases the durability. What's really interesting is the move towards recycled polyester, which is recycled plastic. That is basically taking BPA and recirculating it into our ecosystem. And as it breaks down, it attaches to other disruptors, hormone disruptors, so it can become almost like supercharged in how it breaks down, because it has to break down at some point. So it becomes microplastics and then stays in the system. And so I think there's like this vast understanding of how it is with water bottles. It's in the lining of canned food. Certain things can make it come out like acidic, like a tomato soup will bring out more of the BPA if you have it. Like, most of our food is wrapped in it. And so if we put that in the microwave, that like expedites the amount of BPA that's in our food and in our system. And then there's a really big focus on cosmetics. But what isn't talked about is next to skin. And for women, we have next to skin in two very important areas, very important hormone centers. And so a lot of our sports bras are made out of BPA, and we're sweating, we're heating up, our skin is absorbing. And so it's like going directly into our bloodstream in the critical areas where we're, producing estrogen and, where we have these our memory glands and
Unfortunately, the United States it has some pretty lax regulations around these chemicals compared to places like the European Union, where they have slightly stricter controls around the types of chemicals that can enter our food, water, and consumer goods.
It's very different. A lot of this, of course, started in the United States. And, even though we finally have become aware of the fact that it's the same chemicals that are being used in these products like textiles and foam and other things that are going all over the world and are being made in factories in different places, but it's the same chemicals. In some instances, you have different laws that allow them to do very different things overseas. For example, in Belgium, we saw the government take steps to shut one of these factories down that was emitting these materials, something that's never happened here in the US, despite everything we've known to date. So, we unfortunately, it's the same chemicals, but very different legal systems. And in Europe, we are now seeing a different type of approach, something we tend to call the precautionary approach, where rather than wait for absolute proof that people actually have been made sick or been killed by this material, there's a preference to take action before the harm has actually happened. When you've got enough evidence to say there's a real risk here, that's when you begin to take action. And in the United States, we don't tend to do that. Our legal system and our regulatory system tends to require a lot more complex, longer process before we can take steps to begin regulating.
A 2022 report revealed that some sports bras contained up to 22 times the legal limit of BPA chemicals. And since these chemicals can disrupt our hormones, having them near sensitive areas directly against our skin is pretty concerning. According to a Guardian article by Tom Perkins that was published in June of 2024, new research has revealed that toxic PFAS chemicals are actually absorbed through the human skin at much higher levels than we previously thought. This study from the University of Birmingham shows that our skin takes in a significant amount of these harmful forever chemicals and likely other chemicals. To discover this, they used lab-grown tissue to mimic human skin, and the researchers found that up to 13.5% of PFOA, which is one type of PFAS, was absorbed, but with prolonged exposure, that absorption rate increased to 38%. What's even more concerning is that short-chain PFAS, which is oftentimes deemed safer, they were absorbed at rates up to 60%. This study is really important because it challenges our previous assumptions that chemicals like this are not easily absorbed into our skin. And this new evidence underscores the need for greater awareness and regulation around chemicals like PFAS and BPA in products that are directly against our skin, so our underwear and our clothes. And it's crucial to be cautious and informed about the products that we use. So, how do we tackle this issue?
I think it is a difficult problem. It's a big problem, but it is one we can tackle and one we are tackling, and we're seeing the positive results of that battle here. As I mentioned, the laws are changing, the products are changing, and it's up to consumers, to look at the information that's out there now, that's starting to finally come out about what types of products have used these in the past. And frankly, it's not easy to find that information because, again, when these chemicals weren't in ingredients or they weren't on products, a lot of companies didn't even know they were using them. So it's not easy to just jump online and find, here's a comprehensive list of every place that these have been used. You have to kind of look for buzzwords that we now know are associated with these chemicals, like waterproof or stain resistant or non-stick or grease resistant. That should be sort of a red flag, and to start looking a little closer and to reach out to companies, to understand whether they have information about whether these chemicals have been used, or, to see which companies are committing not to use them. And that makes a difference. It really does. And I think, again, it starts with education and having access to this information. And there are some great groups out there that are trying to collect a lot of this data and make it available online. Folks like Environmental Working Group or Green Science Policy Institute, folks like that have tried to collect data and make it available online about, what products are impacted and how you might try to avoid them or support the folks that are moving away from them.
Learning about these chemicals and where they're found in our consumer goods is an easy and excellent place to start. Do your research on the clothing that you're buying, especially for your bras and underwear, but also for things like workout leggings or shirts when you're sweating in them profusely, and sweat oftentimes can increase that absorption rate of these chemicals. But for anyone that has a uterus and menstruates, this is not just about underwear. Recent studies have found that many sanitary products and period underwear also contain these harmful chemicals.
I don't think it was on a lot of people's radars until I think it was like a 2022 report by CEH where they talked about BPA and PFAS in sportswear, particularly in bras. And so what we know is what we don't have, and we don't have those. And for us, we knew that from our factories. We knew it from the thread, from the fabric we were getting. All of those entities are certified, and we partner with them because of their rigorous certifications and testing and commitment to sustainability. And then we went one step further and did testing ourselves to make sure that our finished products too were free of the BPAs and the PFAS and forever chemicals.
With so many synthetic fabrics containing these chemicals, it's crucial to choose garments that are made from safer materials, and oftentimes that means choosing natural fibers. The brand of underwear, or innerwear as they call it, that I choose for my everyday wear is called BRANWYN.
We create performance innerwear. Right now, we have 5 products for the most part, 2 bras and 3 pairs of underwear. It is a very unique construction. It's unique to the outdoor industry in that we take wool, mostly wool, and then instead of doing cut and sew, which everyone knows, for typical wool, we actually use a seamless machine. So it's constructed the way that we think of most sportswear or a lot of underwear that is seamless. It's all nylon. And so it's kind of a new category. It's called performance innerwear, and it's great for everything from hiking to yoga to just hanging out around the house. And most women come into it through an activity. They'll get it for travel or for hiking, and then all of a sudden they become aware of the benefits of wool, and then it's super comfortable, and then all of a sudden everything else is getting thrown out the door.
They use a knit blend of 81% of fine merino wool, 12% nylon, and 7% spandex. And although they do use some synthetic materials in their innerwear, they have gone through rigorous third-party testing to prove that yes, their underwear is actually chemical-free. And you also might be thinking, wool underwear sounds a little bit weird, and how could that possibly be comfortable? Well, merino wool is renowned for its ability to move moisture away from your skin, and it keeps you dry and comfortable during activities. It regulates your temperature pretty effectively, keeping you warm in cold conditions and cool in hot conditions. Plus, the natural properties of merino wool can also help combat odors.
I do think that the merino foundation, and it's not just merino, it's ZQ. So there are different standards, and we are committed to always bringing in the highest standard of fiber. And if there's any developments in sustainability, we're always keeping our eye on that. And so it's called ZQ, which is sourced from both Australia and New Zealand. We just had a conversation with them like 2 days ago. And I said, does it really matter that the sheep are happy and healthy and it's ethical? And she said, actually, it does. She said, think about when we're stressed and what happens to our hair. And that's the exact same thing that's happening to the sheep. And so ZQ has a standard for both the workers and the animals and biodiversity. So that's just like foundational for us and our brand. And then we use the most minimal amount of nylon and spandex because we need that for performance, for like the elasticity, but also the durability. And so we've tested, and we're also looking at how do we stay on top of new developments with those fibers, because those are probably the most kind of problematic fibers that we use. And so I think the moment that we feel like we can get some alternatives that have the same performance level or the performance level necessary to deliver what we need, we're already in testing phases for those.
I first discovered BRANWYN innerwear in my search for like the perfect hiking and backpacking underwear. And ever since I tried them, they have become my go-to because they're comfortable, free from chemicals, and they're extremely durable. If you want to learn more about chemicals found in your underwear or hear directly from the brand BRANWYN, tune into episode 150 of the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, Why More Women Are Choosing Wool Underwear. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if there are other things you want to learn about toxic chemicals.